from there they can actually estimate how green a place is.
Indeed.
So very interesting study. So this is another cheap way of carrying out a study without trying to talk to everybody all the time and getting all the coordination, and then 2 cities don't want to give to you, and then your study, you know, first year 1,000 cities, second year 700 cities, third year 800 cities. Then after a while, it's very hard to compare, and your statistics all go haywire. But quite wisely, they actually use this Google Street Map to do the study. Another feature about Singapore is actually you'll be surprised. Unlike a lot of countries, we are very water conscious. Okay, I think at the point when we became independent, we got water from Malaysia. Unfortunately, at that time when relationship with the government wasn't so good, the politician in Malaysia at that time threatened and say, if you don't agree with me, I just take away your water. So you will find that actually it become an obsession with Singaporeans about their water.
Yes.
So actually our politician at that time was quite smart. They say Singapore is in a tropical country. We get 2,400 mm of water over Singapore's land area. You work it out, you realize there's enough water in Singapore if we collect every drop.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, and we started out trying to collect every drop. You know. So that's our thing. Second thing is that after you build up all these reservoirs from about 3 reservoirs, we only had 3 reservoirs at independence, or when we left Malaysia. Now we have 17 reservoirs. So that's how much we have been building. And the other aspect of it is people do not realize is that when you have water body and you dam that up nicely and use it as a reservoir, every part of the river or the stream is now permanent water and it can be used. If you keep it very clean, it is very beautiful. You know. The last aspect is quality of life. I think here everybody knows quality of life. See, when you go out, you don't feel threatened. You feel safe. You have adequate access to transport, access to sanitation, to health system. Without this, nobody will think that your city is livable and sustainable. Okay. So the system that Singapore has that support all this that you don't really see, and one reason of success, I'll come out. There are 10 factors, so I'll go through them very quickly. Firstly, we always think long term because we are so short of land. So, for example, I give you this question: our population is about 5.5 million now. Okay, so our planners have known that Singapore, until 6.9 million, we can fit everything in. When we have 6.9 million, we can have enough hospital, we have enough fire stations, we have enough temples, we have enough churches, we have enough mosques, we have enough everything, university, enough hospital, enough clinic, enough schools, enough everything. Yes.
Can I ask, you say 1.5 is include their immigration people?
Yes.
Everyone, right?
Yes.
Not just only Singaporean?
Yes, correct. Yeah. And then we have planned all the way at 6.9 million, but we have not, it's not a target. So a lot of Singaporeans now are very worried. They think the government is trying to grow our population 6.9 million, you know, but actually it's not. It's just the planners like us trying to make sure that we can squeeze everything into this place. And despite squeezing everything, the standard of living is not lost. We still be greening, we still have houses that are not too near and things like that. So again, one feature of thing is that we have thought very long term. This, for example, is an early plan. When we are poor, we ask the UN to come and do study for us. So they were planning Singapore a certain way. We didn't implement this plan. Obviously, we did not implement this plan. I think the congestion in Singapore will be very bad if you have just like 2 roads serving the whole country. But what is very important is that at that study, we get our youngest and brightest to follow this expert around. And then after that, we were doing our own training. And in this, when they were following them around, one of them was our former president, Mr. Ong Teng Cheong. He actually became, he was architect, but he learned a lot. And then he is the one that actually engineered our MRT system subsequently. Yeah. So the main lesson is actually, even when they are consultants, Don't just let them do your thing. Just go and make sure you send the right people to learn from them all the principles so they can do yourself. Because no matter how an external consultant wouldn't know the local situation well. They only know some good theories, but they may not know the local situation well. So having your own people with them and learn from them the theories and then subsequently build up your own plan is actually a better way to plan your city.
Yes.
We always have long-term plans. For example, this is our 1971. Before Singapore was even developed, before we even had money, we were, at the time our airport was Palembang, we actually planned for the Changi Airport, which was only implemented in the 80s. You can see all the major road system, our expressway from the airport to the CBD, the AYE, the so-called Pan Island Expressway, all was envisaged in the 70s, way before we have all these car ownership urbanization. And when we were poor, we still wanted a good living environment for the people. So our tactic at that time was to put all our dirty industry together so that the health and safety of the residents are not affected. Because at the time we were poor, we don't have all the resources for very good environmental cleanup. We grouped our so-called general industry or more polluting industry together so that we can create good corridors of development for that people can live without being affected by pollution. Even in 70s, we also planned the two MRT lines, mass rapid transit lines. The next time we actually planned in greater detail, it was 90s. At that time, we realized our problem. We were too successful. So can you imagine now, whole Singapore, everybody will go to the CBD to work in the white-collar job, and everybody will travel all the way to here for the blue-collar job, mainly. So we create quite imbalanced work situation, traffic jam. So we started doing congestion pricing. We started building satellite regional centers, so that every one of these, for example, the financial hub, all the bank support backroom operation is now in Tampines. We build up all these regional centers so we can disperse work. So instead of everybody going to the CBD to work, they can actually work in the major regional centers, again to disperse the traffic. Even 70s and 80s, Singapore is like the second largest port in the world. We were not happy. We were actually building a new CBD ใหม่โดยการย้ายพวกศูนย์ราชการไป Similarly now we are still second in the world, but now it's after China rather than after Rotterdam or whatever. ส่วนผสมไม่ได้มันไม่มีใครทำอย่างต่อเนื่องจริงๆมันมีโอกาสทำได้แต่ไม่มีใครทำได้ต่อเนื่องคือไม่เข้าใจภาพรวมในการทำ so that it can cater for bigger ship
มีแต่ทำออกไปเหมือนสร้างงานก่อสร้างแต่ว่าพวก housing อะไรไม่มาด้วยตามไม่ทันภาพรวมไม่ได้
Okay, this is how Singapore has enlarged itself over time. It's basically a reclamation. I think we have reaching the limits because the northern part is basically Malaysia international official boundary. We cannot go there, and some of them have official trade routes that we have to adhere to. So definitely no. And by ourselves, because we are a port, we can't reclaim all this land, because if we were to reclaim all this land, our port cannot run properly.
How about reinvest in Malaysia?
It's quite a difference. It's not that we do invest. In fact, there's a lot of investment, but it's
political.
Yeah, it's whether there is a long-term cooperation is assured. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Just as technically, after when the British left, before they left, they actually say Singapore, Malaysia, settle your own water, and which they did. They actually have a contract to settle water, but still having a contract, international agreement is an international agreement. There's still always this danger. So in that sense, it's not 100% that we could do. Actually, a lot of Singaporeans do live in the southern part here, retirees. But again, there are some impact. Like for example, they bought a property, $1 million ringgit. by now, because of the economy different, their retirement money have dropped to 1/3 its value, 30% of the value, because once it changed the currency to the other currency, and Singapore economy still go up, whoever invested there will have lost 70% of their money.
I see.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because of, yeah. Okay, often people say, don't fight, don't fight. Every agency will work together. Singapore actually advocate fighting, okay, fighting productively, because we are so short on land. Every agency have not enough land to build. Everybody had to fight for whatever they have. So the Ministry of Health had to fight for 5 regional hospitals. The Ministry of Education had to fight for 2 large new universities, and basically try to make sure that all the facilities can be put into Singapore. So there's a lot of coordination needed, and this is an example of what we have done in the 90s, and that there's actually a lot of fighting needed to come out with a final plan, because we are such land short. I'll give you an example. If I'm the housing authority, I'm HDB, okay? Is it cheaper to build a 2-story house or a 20-story house? Very easy, 2-story. So if I'm trying to score point, or I'm trying to show that I'm good, I'll always ask for 2-story, and I'll build a lot of 2-story very fast, because I can build 2-story very fast. I'll be the most popular agency in Singapore.
Right.
And everybody got very nice 2-story house at so-called low cost. And people will be very happy. But you use up all the land. Same thing, I am JTC, Jurong Town Corporation, building the industry estate. I can build a 10-story, multi-story flat, or I can build a 1 single-story factory. Because you must remember, most of the investors, they are from US or UK. They are used to having their 1-story flat. They don't even have to change their layout. They just take the architect plan, put it in Singapore, no need to change. But Singapore, no. We want you 4-story. You want to come to Singapore, build 4-story. So in that sense, everybody will have an easy time. Same thing, if I'm a hospital, I build a 1 or 2-story hospital. You know, less M&E, less lift maintenance. I can bring medical costs to the lowest. But again, it's not possible because not enough land. So everybody has to fight in Singapore. So that's the thing. Rather than not fight, but you must get together and work together. How much time have you got?
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, in the past, another feature of Singapore, when we plan, we always build in flexibility. So like for example, when we are building up Tampines Town, it's a very popular town in the late 80s and early 90s. We actually left large chunk of land we don't develop.
I see.
Yeah, so that in the end, we are not using up all the resources just to please one generation of Singaporeans. You know, we try and stretch it out. You know, so even now, recently, you can see this very popular estate. We can still release land because finally, after saving the land for 20-30 years, we release some more land there, and they can have public housing in a so-called a good district, rather than use up all our land resource at the same time. Another feature about Singapore is that unlike a lot of plans I've seen in, say for example, some city, we actually execute our plans. That means whatever that is in the plan, somehow or another, we will execute it. We will actually achieve it. Whether for land reclamation, or whether building a new financial city, or carrying out public housing, we actually execute it well. I give you an example. It's probably cheaper to put these two viaducts together, okay? But we don't do it. Why? Because if we put everything together, there's no sunlight, there's no water, we cannot grow things. And because we want to believe in greening Singapore, sometimes we take a slightly more expensive option. We separate it so that light and water can go in, so that we can carry out our greening. So this is what I mean by executing efficiently. We learn from our mistakes. So our first expressway that we built above ground at the AYE, is maybe a 6-lane road expressway. Hardly anything can grow in there. Okay, so because of that, we learn. And if we want to really green Singapore, we have to leave some gaps, let the rain come down, or even let the road be able to catch water and use it to water the plant. For example, when I'm in Jakarta, the previous governor decided to clear the slums. So he will actually clear the slum, go to somewhere, build a big housing estate, move all the people from the slum to the new estate. You would think that by giving these people who are slum dwellers a new estate, they will stay there. But because they do not carry out the rest of the items well, a lot of people, because when they go to a new area, 20 kilometers away, there's no employment. And their employment may be a cobbler. A cobbler next to a CBD where there are office workers, then they can make the shoe.
Right.
There will be some people who will be selling food for the lunch crowd. Again, if you move 20 kilometers away, there's no one to sell food. Everybody is poor. No one will buy food from you because everybody will cook their own food. So you'll find that actually our slum clearance program is very successful because we execute effectively. For example, whenever we clear a slum, we will move schools. So, for example, I'm from a very poor family. I used to stay in a slum area. When my mom moved us to a new housing estate, I got a school to go to. You know, somewhere a walking distance, a schoolway walking distance to go to. I can exchange dirty water, river water, that's unhygienic for fresh water. The employment is moved. I mean, we actually, whenever we build a new town, we have factories there with people and employers to hire the people, so people can actually now stay there and work there. People like their food. We actually brought all the hawkers, developed this creature called a hawker center, which I think you have seen Singapore hawker centers, and they can sell very cheap food, and you basically move the employment, the people, you know, so that they can actually move somewhere else and thrive. I give you an example. One thing is that in the past, all the slum dwellers, they living the river, they ask everything they don't want. When they cook in the kitchen, you know, leftover chicken bone, throw out the window into the river. They got this habit of just throwing. So when we build our public housing, we have to learn how to, we actually got psychologists in and say, how do I cater them? So inside our public housing, we have a centralized rubbish cube that comes right into their kitchen. So they can actually just open it there and throw, because they're so used to doing it. Okay, our success in the 60s and 70s and 80s to this design is now our killer, because people are so used to throwing to this rubbish cube. Recycling is very difficult in Singapore. Again, now, because we realize that it's happening, the newest housing estate, we don't have rubbish cube into the kitchen. We put it outside in the area where 6 or 10 families can share one rubbish cube. So they can bring it out. As they bring it out, they can sort out their rubbish for recycling. So that's how we slowly use design to affect behavior. But the first place is because they are in a slum situation, they are so used to saving this thing, you cannot just take it out and don't give them, everybody bring down 12 stories down to a centralized rubbish point. It won't work. So we actually design
step by step.
Yeah, step by step. Yeah. So that's what I mean by executing effectively. Another feature about Singapore actually is that, okay, we did invent the legislation. The British government has this legislation to acquire land. What we did was we refined it further, and we use it as a Robin Hood effect. Okay, Robin Hood effect. Let me explain. In your country, in fact, all countries today, you see that the rich are taxed more than the poor. Right? The rich are taxed more than the poor. But because everybody is doing it, we think it's very normal. So basically, you get more tax from the rich, so that you could help subsidize the poor and run social programs. So our compulsory acquisition at that time is basically about taking money from the rich landowner, buy the land cheaply, so can build public housing cheaply, house as many people as possible in good environment, you know, by buying land cheaply. So it's no different from the tax system, except people are used to this property right, and they think, wow, you know, you've been acquired at less than market value. It's very unfair. Okay, so our system at that time was to acquire based on historic value, and then after that acquire cheaply, and then they build the infrastructure for the people. Guess what happened? Over time, in the past, when Singapore was in the early years, you'll find that maybe 20-30% of the people are landowners, are rich landowners, because at that time they got the land from the British to be for plantation. So Singapore in the past used to be like rubber plantation, orchid plantation, nutmeg plantation, a lot of plantations. So there are some landowners with large chunk of land owning this. And over time, what they do is they become the slum. They just let people stay in their land, and then everybody pay a few $100s to this person, and this guy become a slumlord, and he actually get rich over the tenant. And the situation is very bad. It's just no water, no whatever. They just live on his so-called former farm, which becomes the slum. So what happened is that Singapore would actually buy over this land at a cheap price and then building public housing. But I dare to say that if the government at the time just take the land cheaply and enrich itself and didn't build any public housing, I don't think they can remain in power. But because they managed to build the public housing, they managed to remain in power, and that's how Singapore started its story. But of significance is that somewhere along the line, now, because we build so many public housing, everybody is a landowner, everybody is a property owner now.
Right.
So if everybody is a property owner and you will take land away at cheap price, you're going to have a riot. So somewhere along the line, as Singapore grew, we also changed it such that we pay fair market compensation. In fact, to the point where now, if I want to buy your land to build an MRT line or build an expressway, I'll say, your land, 5 million. Okay, I found market price is 5 million. I'll offer you 5 million for your land. That means fair market value. Then you say, no, my land is worth 5.5 million, and then I got don't know what renovation of 300,000 in there and all that jazz. So I'll say, okay, I'll give you extra 20,000. You get a professional valuer, value it, and then come back to me. And then I'll adjust my price accordingly. So now we are reaching a stage where we are paying the old landowner for their valuer, for them to challenge us as government. But we still pay it at fair market value, not higher than government. So like for example, I know India, I think some state or some place, they pay 4 times market value. So you'll find that actually in which a state very hard to use. Even though they have the legislation, the same British legislation for land acquisition, they have to pay 4 times a week. So again, no development can come through because it's very expensive. When we build a new town, as I mentioned earlier, every town will be well served. This is a very conceptual diagram to show the size of road that's needed to serve the town. We need big roads to take away the traffic, small road to prevent traffic from coming in. At the same time, enough road to make sure it works. To have primary school, secondary school, open space, football field, recreation center, town park, all modeled so that we will never leave out anything. Okay, but what people do not know is they try to create this checkerboard effect, so that we always have pocket of green and school everywhere, so that the house is as far as possible. Despite all the height control, we try to create all this space so that this little space and pocket, so that there's always as much green relief and houses are as far as possible.
Who's the original of this kind of concept?
Mr. Liu Tiger.
I think I met him last year in the Parking. He presented in the urban planning Chinese.
So, but main thing is having conscious design, so that actually to make the environment better for the people. Okay, lastly, another 5 factors. Okay, these are all the integrated master plan development, what you need to do. Now is also having the proper urban governance. I give you an example. A lot of credit had to go to our former Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. I gave you an example of how about vision and pragmatism. Okay? So, again, how does Singapore distinguish itself? This is the era, India independence, Malaysia independence, Indonesia independence from the Dutch, and so on and so on and so on. Everybody was doing their thing to attract businesses and all these things. So Singapore, one way Singapore is seeing ourselves is that he settled on clean and green Singapore. And surprisingly, when the MNC people, we got actually some quotes from them. We managed to get some other historical quotes from some of the old-timer that invested in Singapore. They said when they landed in Singapore, they saw posters about clean and green, and they saw the trees line up nicely. They say this country is disciplined enough to even grow their trees in a straight line. So they can follow instruction well, and therefore my factory will run properly. You know, these are examples of image that we do. So even though I dare to say our Prime Minister actually loves trees, okay? He's not doing it just because of the economy. Personally, because I worked for him for some other matter, it reached a stage where he will go dating in the park with his wife, and he see the river, they see one of the pond a bit dirty. He will actually say, he will ask us to investigate why the pond is a bit dirty. And we found out that actually somebody was dumping some earth upstream, and we catch the person, and then we made it clear the pond. Just a bit of mud in the pond. It's like, maybe the pond is like 3 times the size of this room, and then maybe somewhere around here is a mud patch. Something like a water patch of muddy water. You know, so in that sense, he's actually truly interested in the environment, but he's pragmatic enough to try and use it, some of these things to sell to the people, saying that actually, can you imagine Singapore is so poor? When every time we build a road where it's wider than necessary so you can plant trees. How much land? No, we are so short of land, and yet we are expanding our road to plant more trees. You know, we are wasting a lot more energy, a lot of time, a lot of money, but ultimately the vision is to have clean and green Singapore.
Vision first.
Which come true, yeah. So here's an example of one of the regional parks. I think this is Bishan, and one is Ang Mo Kio. So what basically they try to do is having some separation in town, and of course they have some parks for the people, so that young children, they can see the park, the parents can walk there. And guess what? Also, it actually gives a lot of value to all the units here next to the park. Frankly speaking, enjoy a premium of a few $100,000, you know. And because we are small, all our parks, we try and join them together with Park Connector, so that when you cycle in one park, you could just go almost unlimited, and so that our small little park stretch out. And at the same time, because whenever we build a Park Connector, we have a row of trees there, the animals can move. You know, so we have now a lot of animals coming back to Singapore. We have hornbills, we have otters. Unfortunately, we have too many wild boars, but there's what I'm trying to say is a lot of wild animal is thriving in Singapore, and we see quite a lot of animals in the urban environment. So, for example, my condominium where I'm staying in an apartment. In front of my house, there's this bunch of maybe 8 or 10 green parrots will always come and nest there, and wonderful to see. You know, not just crows and pigeons, but I see a green parrot, you know, in front of my house. So are we happy? So initially we started out doing a garden city. Okay. Later we became a city in a garden. Okay. Anyone knows the difference between a garden city and city in a garden? Okay, there's some technicality here. Okay, I give you an example. A garden city means you're a city that has a garden. So like for example, if you own a landed housing, you have a nice terrace house or a nice bungalow, the garden is there for you to enjoy. The garden serves the city. Okay. But when you go city, the garden means you try and build a giant garden. The whole Singapore is a garden, and you put a city at a certain spot in the garden. That means you are sensitive to the garden. So we wanted this image, and so that when people are doing it, for example, we want not only the cycling path, we want the birds and animals to be able to crawl. They can find their boy animal and girl animal, then they can have new family and stuff like that. You know, things like that. So this is what I mean by reaching out, being sensitive to the garden. Then once we achieve that now, this is where we are now. Singapore is at this stage. We are a city of gardens and water. So here you try to bring the water alive. After all, we start protecting so many water. In the past, whenever we have a reservoir, we'll fence it up and say, you enter the water reservoir, we'll shoot you, because we have to protect our water. But now it reached a stage where we say water is everywhere, we want you to enjoy the water. We just have to treat a bit more to make sure it's safe. We don't have to worry about keeping people away from the water.
I see.
Yeah. So main thing to make people enjoy the water. So if you look at Singapore in the past, you see the really old buildings, they see the Singapore River, the building, they turn the backside, the car park facing the water because it's so ugly and dirty. So for example, that is Liang Kok, okay, if you have visited that. But subsequently you see Clarke Quay, Boat Quay, all the buildings are fronting the river because the river is now so pretty and everybody wants to front the river. In fact, any building at front of the river get maybe a 10 or 20% rise in land value.
Indeed.
Another important factor in building the country, Singapore especially, we realize that actually there's a need to remain corruption-free. As I mentioned earlier, if we have taken land from people at a cheap price and only the politicians become rich, Singapore will have failed. So we realize that because we have redistributed the wealth to the people, people are generally happy and you can become a very stable Singapore. So that's how we have achieved stability in the past. And by remaining corruption-free again, you'll find that investment goes to where it's needed most, not where you can get the most money. So again, the priority of investment becomes the correct one.
Priority of the investment.
Yeah, yeah. Because I give an example. Say a bus company may want to give you more benefits to certain individual versus the MRT, right? But we know the MRT have higher carrying capacity, so we will definitely build the MRT rather than choose a bus service, which some countries may have until fall into this trap, you know.
Right.
I think the other thing that we need to know is we actually build up very good public institutions. Public institutions that know what they do. So we have this housing and development board. They basically build a public housing. So sometimes I'll tell them, they wake up in the morning, they know their job is to build public housing. They go back to bed at night when they reach their home, they want to sleep, they know they have built public housing. They know that their mission so well that it's very easy. You know, I'm very clear cut. They just know I'm a housing development board. My job is to build public housing. It's not just you don't get distracted by other things. So like for example, that's why we build very dedicated agencies to solve the problem. So like for example, a lot of agencies they go in public works department, then their sanitation department, and so on and so on and so on.